If I could have everybody get to their table, we'll go ahead and get started. Fred Stemler, can you hear me back there? Okay, good. All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Scott Stemple. I'm the athletic director here for Mason City Schools. And on behalf of the Mason City Schools Athletic Department, it's my pleasure and honor to welcome all of you here tonight for our 40th Annual Hall of Fame induction ceremony as we gather together to recognize and honor the Mason Athletic Hall of Fame induction class of 2022. With this year's Hall of Fame recognitions tonight, we will also be recognizing two of our most recent Mason High School student-athlete graduates, as well as a few very special Mason community members who, by their contributions, have had a tremendous impact on our students and the Mason athletic community. Before we get started, I'd like to just recognize a few of our special guests, our school administrators. First of all, Mr. Ian Orr, Mason City School Board member right there. This is our admin table over here. Dr. Jonathan Cooper, our superintendent. And then our high school principal, Mr. Bobby Dodd. Last year, our programs once again continued to produce record-setting results while achieving the school's 15th consecutive GMC All-Sports Trophy, which is the annual award which recognizes the overall success of athletic departments at member schools of the GMC. Much of this is attributed to the tremendous commitment and efforts of our student athletes, with the strong continued support of our parents, our administration, and our community. But much of this accomplishment, too, is attributed to the leaders of our programs, all of our head and assistant coaches. So I'd like to take just a moment to recognize a few of our coaches that were able to be with us here tonight. Mr. Tony Oftato, our head girls track and field coach. Tony, right there. Mr. Kurt Bly, our head baseball coach. Kurt. Mr. Brian Kastner. Is Brian here? Did he make it in? There he is. Yeah. I passed you going into school about an hour ago, and I guess he's going to make it. Good job, Brian. Mr. Rob Matula, our head girls basketball coach. Rob. Mr. Adam Toohey, our new boys basketball coach. Coach Toohey. And then last but not least, Mr. Greg Richards, our head boys basketball coach for 27 years, who is retiring, as many of you are aware. So I just want to take a moment to just recognize Greg and thank him for all of his efforts over that 27-year period, all that commitment that he made to our student athletes and our assistant coaches, a lot of them who have moved on to be head coaches today. So thank you, Greg, for those 27 years. Congratulations. And then we have a couple assistant coaches here, a few. Kelly Oftato, Tony Oflotato's best half, second. Casey Popowell. Casey's back there somewhere. I saw him. And Mr. Darren Little. Darren, where's Darren at? I saw him. He's back there next to Casey. And then Billy Highfill. Billy, I think, is here. Yeah. Okay. Special thanks to our Hall of Fame selection committee members. along with Dylan, Kathy, and myself. Mr. Mark Souders. Mark, where are you at? There he is. And our valued historian, not that Mark's not valued, he's very much valued, but our historian, Mike O'Brien. Obi, where's Mike at? Yeah. So those guys are really tremendous. They're awesome in our process, so we appreciate them and the time they put in with that. ICRC is covering this event. We thank them. I want to thank the Manor House staff, the support group there with ICRC and pulling this together with the Manor House staff. It's just an awesome venue. And Dylan, who I'm going to talk about in a second, he will make sure that if you have any questions on the reschedule when they're going to play this, because they'll put it on out there and you'll be able to get those dates and watch this again. So it'll be replayed several times by ICRC. So I want to thank those groups as well. Our staff in the office, Dylan McKinney, I just want to take a minute to recognize Dylan. Dylan pulls all this together. He, with the committee and what we do, we start this back after the new year and start talking about things. And he does a tremendous job of putting the logistics together, communicating to all the people involved. There's a lot that goes into it, so I just like to recognize Dylan for that. So thank you, Dylan, for your efforts. Our Assistant Athletic Director, Kathy Crotty, who is retiring October 11th. Is that right, Dylan? October 11th. Dylan keeps saying she retired. He's been saying that for about 2 months. He calls it, what do you call it, Dylan? Assistant Athletic Director-itis. So no one's counting. Except for Kathy Crotty. She's certainly counting the days. So we will miss Kathy. She's been a mainstay, constant mainstay. She'll be difficult to replace. So I just want to recognize her here publicly in front of the group. So. And then lastly, Mr. George Highfill, I know, is here, and he's head of maintenance. George is just phenomenal. Had a lot of closed doors meetings with George, had a lot of open door meetings with George. He's been very valuable to what we do in athletics, and he too is going to be retiring, I believe, in December, right, George? Yeah, so George will be a difficult replacement too, so we'll miss him, and I just want to thank George publicly too for everything. Before we proceed with the invocation and the dinner, I'd like to take just a few minutes. We have a few special awards, and then we'll bring up our Nick Bogan for our invocation. We have 2 scholarships that we present to 2 students that have graduated that were athletes last year. These scholarships have been provided through the generous support of the families of Mr. Ken Reed, Mr. O.D. Popplewell, and Mr. Terry Jeffers. And may we continue to honor these 3 great men and recognize the tremendous impact each one had on the rich history and tradition of Mason athletics. So we thank those families for their continued support of these scholarships. That deserves a hand. Our first recipient goes to student Colin Campbell. Colin excelled for the Comets over the last 4 years, earning a varsity letter in both cross country and track every season. Last November, Colin helped the men's cross country team capture the 2021 Division I state championship. He graduated Mason with a 4.48 GPA and will attend the Ohio State University this fall to study biomedical engineering. His parents, Colin can't be with us tonight, which happens sometimes with our this time of year when they're moving on to school. But we do have his parents here, Dave and Tammy Campbell, and his father, Dave, would like to come up and just say a few words in Colin's stead.
Colin told me to stick to the script because I'm a teacher and I talk too much. He says, I'm grateful to accept this honor. It took a lot of hard work every day to achieve this. I want to thank my coaches for pushing me to reach my goals, my teachers for helping me succeed in the classroom, my teammates for making every day fun, and most importantly, my parents for loving me and giving me the opportunities for success and their nonstop support through it all. He greatly appreciates the support of the Hall of Fame, and the scholarship will be well used at Ohio State. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Our next $1,000, which I neglected to mention, it's a $1,000 scholarship, goes to Advika Sumit. Advika was a talented multi-sport athlete who earned 9 varsity letters across 3 different sports. She ran cross country in the fall, swam in the winter, and ran track in the spring. She helped capture numerous conference championships, district titles, and was a regional placer this year in track. She graduated with a 4.95 GPA and plans on studying medical sciences at the University of Cincinnati this fall. So I would like for Advika to come up, and she is here with her parents, Sumit and Bharti. If you guys would come forward, please.
I just want to start off by thanking all the founders and all of you just for having me here today and for providing me with such a great scholarship. I truly am so grateful that you guys recognize people like me, athletes that aren't committed to a college but still put in that same amount of time, dedication, and effort. I also wanted to thank my coaches, teachers, family, and friends. I wouldn't have been here without you, both in school and athletic-wise. Once again, thank you all for your support.
Okay, congratulations to Colin and Advika. That's awesome. 2 great kids, super athletes, super students, and just really good people as well. Our next award is the Jack Flaherty Award. This award was established in 2011. The Jack Flaherty Award recognizes members of the Mason High School athletic community as either an individual or groups of individuals who have distinguished themselves through their efforts and achievements that have provided for the betterment of the student athletes of Mason. Recipients of the Jack Flaherty Award are not Mason High School alumni. However, they have shown a great deal of commitment and dedication to the Mason High School athletic programs through efforts that are both timeless and selfless. And this individual has certainly carried that well. Tim King is our recipient of the Jack Flaherty Award. Tim is a 40-year teacher at Mason High School. He's been Project Excellent Teacher of the Year, Mason Schools Foundation Above and Beyond Teacher of the Year, 60 seasons worth of coaching at Mason High School at all different sports, cross country, basketball, track, at all different levels. Middle school, freshman, JV, varsity. He's been our announcer for basketball for 30 years. He's been our announcer for football for 35 years and still going. Right, Coach King? He developed the first cross-country course at Pine Hill Park with Mike Lane and still does a lot of work out there with the students. One notable thing related to this prestigious group that we have here with the Hall of Fame, out of 216 Hall of Fame members, Tim either taught or coached 93 of them. That's pretty impressive. So I give you Mr. Tim King.
Well, thank you, Scott. I want to start by congratulating this year's inductees. I think I had the privilege of teaching or coaching all 6 of them, and they are outstanding athletes and human beings. My wife, Amy, is here tonight, and I thank her for putting up with all the hours that I spent coaching over those 40 years and for helping me keep a reasonable perspective regarding family and athletics. I thank my son and my daughter-in-law, Rachel, for coming tonight. Amy and I are so proud of them, along with our 2 other children, Lauren and Caitlin, and their spouses, and now I can say our 4 grandchildren. Of course, my family is the most important aspect of my life. But tonight I want to talk about the second most important aspect of my life, which is finding the Mason community and the Mason schools and Mason athletics. I was a very lucky person. So it was 1982, and I proposed to Amy, and to my surprise, she said no. She had 2 conditions. We were in college together. Condition 1 was choose a major, and condition 2 was become employable. So we had been dating since 9th grade, and I was a little bit shocked that she said no. So I went straight to my advisor, and I chose secondary education. Well, he gave me a handout listing the subjects that I could teach. He said, choose 2 of these. And there were many interesting things on there. I circled the 2 that I liked the most: health education and speech communication. I would not have a license to teach phys ed or English, just health and speech. And I think I'm probably the only graduate that had those 2 things. So it was a very rare combination. So in January of 1983, Amy finished college and started working as a systems analyst, and I student taught that semester. And then that summer, I commuted to Miami and finished my degree, and I knew that I was going to graduate, so we made a circle, 60-mile radius from our apartment in Mount Healthy, and I sent applications to hundreds of school districts. And every day after school, I would check the mailbox and the answering machine, and day after day after day, there was nothing. And it was in late July when there was a message on the machine, and it was an interview with the Mason local schools. So I walked into the superintendent's office, and there was Russ Spalding. Some of you might remember him. He's sitting at his desk, just shaking his head. I got no handshake and no greeting. He just said, "I'm so sorry." He said, "I hadn't noticed until now, speech and health. What were you thinking? You know, who let you do that?" When I got your resume, he said, "I saw speech communication and I assumed that you had English." Well, I knew that Mason was probably going to be my only job opportunity, so when he said that, I was so disappointed that I actually started crying right there in the interview. And I mean, I'm sure he couldn't tell, but I was afraid that he might notice, so I turned my head away from him, and there in the corner of the office, propped up, was this set of bagpipes. Of all things, somehow, seeing those bagpipes there snapped me out of my sadness, and I regained my composure, and I managed to say, "That is a very nice set of bagpipes." And Mr. Spalding said, "Thank you. I'm a Scot, and I play the bagpipes." And I said, "Well, I like the sound of the bagpipes. I'm also part Scottish. In fact, my mother's maiden name is McEldowney." So we talked for about 10 minutes about Scotland, mostly. And then I said, I'm sorry that I wasted your time, and I'll work on my certifications. Well, I made it to the doorway, and I could see Mason Heights Elementary over there. And then I heard Mr. Spalding shout, "Wait, let me call the principal and see if he can meet with you." So I drove to the high school to see Al Delgado, and this time I got a greeting and a handshake, and he said, "Well, it's not an English position. The department chair, Kathy Ross, wants every graduate to have a communications course and a study skills course, and we need someone to teach both of those." He said, "I see here that you're interested in coaching." He said, "Well, the varsity basketball coach is down in the gym for summer workouts right now, so I asked him to come down here and meet you and ask you some questions." So Gary Popplewell walked in, and he was really angry. If you know Mason history, he left down there in the gym Robbie Middleton, Nick Middleton, Jesse Cash, Bobby Bear, Jerry Bentley, Mike Jeffers, Glenn Knight, Todd Montgomery, Larry Reeder, and many other good players. So Gary introduced himself, and he said, "Tim, I cannot leave these kids down there unattended." He said, "I only really have time for one question." He said, "Zone or man-to-man?" So I was actually thinking about saying zone because my high school coach taught nothing but zone. And then I remembered that we were 1-19 my senior year playing zone. Anyway, luckily I said man-to-man. I later learned that Gary is a 100% man-to-man guy. Popplewell said, "That's right," and he nodded to Delgado, and he went back to his dream team. Well, later that week, I signed an $11,000 teaching contract to become a Comet. So I have not forgotten how luck was on my side that day, which is one of the reasons I've stayed with MHS for 40 years. So the nicest thing that anyone could say to me is that, "Hey, you are a good husband and father." But the second nicest thing is you have made an important enough contribution to high school athletics to have your name on a list with Harold Grice, Rod Russell, Ken Gray, the Yosts, Emerson Brown, Lee Carey, Martin Lenbauer, Ken Reed, O.D. Popplewell, Terry Jeffers, Russ Hutchins, Fred Stimler, and of course, Jack Flaherty. Those were and are my mentors and people that I really respect. So just thank you to everyone. This is a huge honor for me. I really appreciate it.
Okay, our last award here before dinner, the Joe Barr Award. Established in 2004, the Joe Barr Award recognizes Mason High School graduates who distinguish themselves through their efforts or achievements, whether occurring during their years of interscholastic participation or after graduation. The Joe Barr Award acknowledges individuals or groups of individuals for their contributions to the rich history and tradition of Mason High School athletics. This year's Joe Barr Award winner or winners is the 1987 baseball team. Couple facts on them, just 35th anniversary this past spring, and our 2022 baseball team commemorated that by going to the state Final Four themselves. Good job, Kirby. First regional team title of any sport, first state championship appearance for any sport team in Mason history. Overall record 28-8, and we have with us the Colonel Ken Gray, that head coach at that time. And so what I'd like to do is just have Coach Gray come up. Coach, Kenny, where you at? See, there he is. Hey, all those team members, where are you guys at? Can you all come up? Any of the guys that are here, the 1987 team? Just come on up here, guys, and Coach Gray promised me he would not roast you too hard, so Coach, there you go.
First of all, I'd just like to congratulate all the inductees tonight, the athletic department, Scott, Dylan, all his staff, doing a great job for this Hall of Fame for so many years and recognizing these fine individuals tonight, especially this team right here in back of me. I got to say something about them, though, real quick. I don't know how to start this, but they more or less told me what to do a lot of times, and I just said, okay. Because you look at them, you know, they're pretty big guys, and they had a plan. But before I start introducing them, I'm going to say something about them real quick. I want to introduce Coach Randy Andrews, Coach Charlie Andrews, right here, these two guys. Come up. You folks that have... You folks that have been around Masons for years know that these are two of the finest young men that ever walked this earth. And I was fortunate enough to coach with these two guys for 28 years. We had a great run. 28 years, they worked on the baseball field, lined the baseball field, cut the grass, did everything. But most important, the most important thing is just the type of individuals they were. Whenever we'd have problems with something, I could go to either one of these guys, and they would come up with the right answer. So I just wanted to thank them from the bottom of my heart. In reality, I want to tell you they're the two brothers that I never had. Thanks, guys. Love you. I also wanted to mention to Coach Bly, he went to the state this year, and I was fortunate enough to get back from Florida and watch him play the last 4 tournament games, and one heck of a ball club. But I got to tell you, I saw them get off the bus up there in Akron for the state semifinal game. They got off this big motor coach, air conditioned. I mean, it was the Taj Mahal, okay? This team and these guys back here go to Columbus in '87. Myself and Coach Andrews are driving a yellow school bus, okay? So I want you to know you're doing it right, Coach, and things have changed at Mason High School, and I'm sure they're for the better, okay? A little bit about that '87 team in the start of the season. Started out really well. We had a very rainy season all year. Numerous games rained out. Matter of fact, the state tournament, when we went up to state tournament that week, we had to go over to Lakota High School and practice because we had a dirt infield and it was underwater the whole week. And these guys drove over there, worked at it, got it done, and it worked out. Just super guys, and they paid the price. That's all I can say. I've never been associated with any group any better. Real quick, I'm going to run down there real quick and introduce these guys, say something about them real quick. Basically, what I'm going to do is go right down the lineup that we had for that state championship game. First guy here, Adam Redwine. I want to tell you, he had a 3.6. Step forward, raise your hand when I call your name. Adam, where you at? There you go. Adam Redwine had a 361 average, was 11-2 on the mound, 70 innings pitched, 120 strikeouts, all city. Excellent career at Mason High School, and he played 4 years at Ohio University, and had a great career up there. Was all MAC a couple years up there. Great kid, outstanding job, but a better human being. Okay, second hitter there, Brian Gray in the lineup that year. Brian was a switch hitting second baseman for us, played in 22 games that year, played excellent defense, and had an excellent career down at Union College in Barberville, Kentucky. Thanks, Brian. Next, Jerry Bentley. Jerry's not here. His wife became ill, hurt her back today, and he had to spend time with her. Let me tell you about Jerry real quick. 6'7" lefty. Had a 486 batting average. Was 9-1 on the mound. .92 ERA. 69 innings pitched, 107 strikeouts. All city. Also like Adam, and he was drafted by the Kansas City Royals out of Mason High School and signed with them and went with them for 3 years, I believe it was. Okay, next we got Mike Jeffers. This is our 4-hole hitter. Now these are 3 and 4 hitters. Bentley's 486. Jeffers is 483. That's not too shabby. You know, I don't know how we lost that championship game. Probably bad coaching. But these guys were outstanding. Mike was 5-1 on the mound, all city. and played on a national championship football team at Georgetown College, and just a super, super human being. I know all you guys that know him. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for coming out and playing that year, because I know I heard you were talking about not playing. Your dad told me, and he said talk to you. Thank you.
I think I remember that discussion.
Yes, sir. Okay. Next, we got Jeff Watson. Jeff was our catcher. Hit 359 for us that year. Where you at, Jeff? Okay. All right. I should have known I can't miss you. Okay. At 359 average, 2-2 on the mound, led the team in home runs with 5, and we didn't have a fence then, Coach. So this guy don't look it, but he could run a little bit. Okay. And Jeff played baseball at Georgetown College, and as you can see how big he is, we called him the enforcer. Anybody we had problems with, we just turned him over to Jeff. Thanks, Jeff.
We still do.
Yes, I believe it. Next, we got Marty Gentry. Marty had a 339 batting average, played shortstop for us and pitched, played the infield, and had as good a hands as anyone I've coached in the 42 years of coaching there at Mason High School. Did an outstanding job and had a great career down at Union College, and I think he was Senior Athlete of the Year his senior year. Great job, Marty. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Next, we got Cal Dennehy. Cal played third base for us, hit 270. Cal came ready to work every day, worked his tail end off, and was working at the end when nobody was. Really appreciated his effort, outstanding job, and Cal played basketball at Wilmington College. Great young man. Thanks, Cal. Appreciate it, buddy. Next, we got Scott Benz. Scott here? Scott's not here, but he was an outfielder for us, hit 270 and was a great defensive player. Next, we got Kevin Lewis. Kevin's a senior. Played outfield cop for us and played the infield. Was our all-around go-to guy. Whenever we needed to plug in somebody there, Kevin was ready to go. And let me tell you something, Kevin had the greatest attitude, as good an attitude as anyone I've ever coached. One of the few guys that I've stayed close with over years. I've gotten a bind a couple times and needed a couple things fixed and made a couple moves, and I could always call Kevin, and he'd be right there to give me a hand. So I appreciate it, Kevin. Outstanding human being. Thank you, sir. Scott Fletcher. Scott played the outfield for us and was one of the better defensive outfielders on the team. And the thing I remember about Scott, he just had some outstanding catches in that state tournament run. One was in the semifinal game when it was like 4-2. Made a great catch in right field and saved the game for us. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. Next, we got Matt Durbin. Matt came up from Florida. Matt, we brought Matt up at the end of the year. Didn't play a whole lot on that team, but he played on a bunch of other teams and played at Edison State. But Matt had as quick a short stroke, straight line to the baseball as anybody I've ever coached. And he had a lot of pop in his swing, too. But, man, he was right there. Straight line to the ball. Great player, great individual. Pleasure to coach. Thank you, Matt. Chad Burnside couldn't make it tonight. Is Chad not here, right? No, he's not. Okay. Chad was a freshman we brought up he played with us all year, actually played in 32 games. Mike Quinlan, another guy, senior that played in 33 games, not here. In closing with this group, I didn't leave anybody out because I usually do good. I got him. I got him. I left this guy for last, okay? We've got a senior on the team that was deceased, Todd Montgomery. His dad's back there with us. Mike, would you stand up, please? Let me tell you about Todd. There was nobody that had any more passion for the game than Todd. Todd went to Georgetown College, played on a national championship baseball team, worked in baseball either at the high school level or at champions clinics throughout his career till the day he passed. He loved the game, and before every season, he would call me and say, "Hey, Coach, how are we going to be this year?" And I said, "Todd, I just hope it's a team like you had when you were a senior that goes to state." And you know what? I coached at Mason from 1972 to 2013, and I probably had 10 teams that should have went to the state, and we didn't make it. But my hat's off to these guys because they did make it. And for whatever reason, you know, they put their fanny to the line, worked their tail ends off, and got it done. And it's probably bad coaching why they didn't make it, but we've had some good ones. But the best thing I can say about this ball club is every one of these guys turned out to be good citizens, hard workers, blue-collar guys, go to work, pay the price, just like they did in high school with their studies and athletics. So thanks, guys. Thanks especially to you, Coach Andrews. A special thanks to Mike Montgomery, that was our athletic director back then, and just did a fantastic job of taking care of us up in Columbus, setting everything up, taking us out to dinner with a couple track teams that was up there also. Appreciate it, Mike, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, and God bless. Thanks, folks. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to bring up Nick Bogan, who will lead us in invocation before dinner.
Thank you again, everyone. Would you bow your heads with me and pray? Lord, we're so thankful for the stories we've heard, the stories that have been shared over a drink. And Lord, what a rich heritage is represented in this room. Lord, the hundreds of people, the thousands that have been impacted by the years of service is unmarked. Lord, we ask that you bless this evening, bless the recipients, bless the fellowship, and the relationships that continue to deepen after years and years of separation. Lord, thank you that we can just pick up right where we left off. Bless this time and the food to the nourishment of our bodies. Amen.
We'll go ahead and continue with the program. All right, we'd like to continue on with our first inductee. So if you could please take your seat. Feel free to continue with your dessert and your meal. Our first inductee of the 2022 class, Mr. Bill Bothwell. Bill's a graduate of the class of 1989. Bill Bothwell was a gifted multi-sport athlete who accumulated 9 varsity letters throughout his high school career. In the spring, Bill participated in track and field as a thrower for the Comets, competing in both shot put and discus. In the fall, he was named starting tackle for the varsity football team, earning second team all-conference honors and Western Star honorable mention honors 2 years in a row. However, it was in the winter on the wrestling mat where Bill really excelled. He was an FAVC conference champion 3 years in a row, going undefeated in the regular season as a junior and senior. He was a 2-time sectional champion in the heavyweight division, state qualifier as a senior. He led Mason to their first ever FAVC title in wrestling in 1989. Bill set multiple school records, including most career wins with 88, most consecutive wins to start a season with 30. His outstanding senior year came to a head when he faced Taylor High School's Dana Stubblefield. Twice he was matched up with Stubblefield, the future NFL Defensive Player of the Year, and twice Bill was able to come from behind to capture the victory. After high school, Bill wrestled at Miami University for 3 years and today lives in nearby Monroe with his wife, Stephanie. I give you Mr. Bill Bothwell. Bill?
Thank you, everybody. Wow, that was seems like a long time ago. I do want to start I do want to start by apologizing for the horrible mustache. I guess at one time or another, it maybe thought it made me look older. You know, maybe there was a little bit of an intimidation factor. But you know, I guess, you know, you had that opportunity, you know, to look back in life and think if there was one thing you could go back and tell yourself as a younger person, I would say lose the mustache. I have a hard time, you know, thinking of, you know, I'm going to be immortalized in these pictures from high school with that thing. So, but it was a lot of fun. I really appreciate everybody being here tonight. Let me see here. Sorry. Obviously, to be here with everybody with a room full of Mason High School graduates. It's also an honor sharing the spotlight with 6 other accomplished athletes. I'm proud knowing I'll be forever remembered as a member of the class of 2022 inductees High School Hall of Fame. Excuse me, little choked up here. 33 years ago, I don't think I could have imagined being inducted into the Hall of Fame. I was involved in a lot of activities growing up, and not all of them were sports. But wrestling was obviously the one that meant the most. I believe I enjoyed wrestling the most because win or lose, there was only one person responsible for the outcome of the mat, and that was obviously me. So from the time I was a 6th grader, I challenged myself on and off the mat, you know, to improve the chances that each outcome would be a win. And living up to that challenge was a lot of work, but it was well worth it. You know, despite the emphasis on the individual performance, wrestling also requires being a part of a team. You'd be hard-pressed to find an athlete who accomplished much by training all on their own. And unfortunately for me, during my time at Mason, I had some great teammates and coaches who challenged me to become the athlete I grew to be. And it was, as they mentioned earlier, as a team in 1989, we won Mason's first ever conference title in wrestling. Winning that conference title is among the favorite moments of my athletic career. But I have to admit, being here tonight and inducted into the Hall of Fame is right up there with that conference title. So I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame committee for this honor, and I want to thank everyone for sharing in this new favorite moment. Thank you all again. Enjoy the rest of the evening, and go Comets. Thank you.
Congratulations, Bill. Let's give him another hand. Kevin Timmets. Kevin was a member of the class of 1995, graduated Mason as one of the best kicking specialists in school history. He earned 7 varsity letters between the men's soccer team and kicking for the football team. On the soccer pitch, Kevin was named second team all-conference in the FAVC as a junior and earned first team all-conference honors as a senior. He was the captain for the Masons' first ever men's soccer district championship in 1984. He was selected to the East-West All-Star Game and scored a goal to cap off his excellent 4-year career. On Friday nights, Kevin was a 3-time Special Teams Player of the Year for the football team. He earned Western Star and all area honors as a sophomore, junior, and senior. His junior season, he was named to the Associated Press Southwest All-District Team. He kicked 43 total points as a senior and ended with 106 total career points, both Mason records at that time. Kevin accomplished a rare feat that fall, being selected to his second East-West All-Star Game in the same year, this time for football. He ended up scoring 2 field goals in that game. Kevin added 2 more varsity letters in baseball in the spring. After graduation, Kevin attended Miami University at Oxford as a place kicker for the Red Hawks. Today, he lives back in Mason with his wife, Jamie, and kids Madeline, Michael, and Ethan. Michael is a senior, currently carries on the tradition as a place kicker for the Comets. I give you Kevin Timmets.
Well, thank you. I'd like to thank the selection committee for this great honor. Not really sure that I'm really worthy to be up here amongst such deserving inductees. I'm going to warn you right now, I'm going to get emotional. Mitch Pence was telling me just picture everybody naked. So, sorry, that's what I'm doing right now. Mitch? All right. So, you know, there are defining moments in everybody's life. Moments when you find your true character. You become stronger, or you let it defeat you. I'm going to share just a brief story from my freshman year before I go into this defining moment for me. So the senior kicker was hurt. Coach Lichtenberg came and asked if I would kick for the varsity team. It was a home game against Ross, and I was scared as hell. To add to my anxiety, it was a televised game. Game of the week, and you know, kind of a big deal for a freshman. And opening kickoff, the kick returner runs past everybody. I'm the last man, and I drilled this guy right at the 50-yard line. And you know, I went on to kick several extra points that game and helped the Comets to a victory. I can still remember exactly where my parents were sitting in the bleachers at Dwyer Field. And this was also, you know, the first time I've ever known my father to cry. And this was, you know, so important to me, you know, at that time to know, you know, how proud he was of me. And, you know, this is important to me because, you know, a month or two later, he passed away. And that was my defining moment. And as a 14-year-old kid, that was pretty big. I'm just going to stop now and just thank my mom, you know, for getting us through such a difficult time. You see, she was a homemaker at the time, and went and found a job, you know, to support us, you know, put food on our table. And I don't know how you did it, Mom. And, you know, I certainly wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. So, you know, thank you. And I love you. You know, at this point in time, I really turned to sports as a way to get through life, really. It gave me purpose. It gave me focus. I played a lot of sports at Mason, and I wouldn't say I was really the best at any of them, but I gave 100% every day. I played with a lot of determination. I played with a lot of heart, and admittedly, a bit of anger. But you know, apparently that was a very dangerous combination for our opposing teams. I was very blessed to be surrounded by some of the best coaches. Every single one of them believing in me, encouraging me, not quitting on me. They motivated me. They inspired me to be the best that I could be. I just want to say thank you to all the coaches. You know, some of you are here tonight, and Coach Gray, Coach Popovich, you, Andrew's brothers, even Coach Richards. Where's Coach? So Coach Richards is actually the one that, you know, started my place kicking career, you know, back in 8th grade. So thanks, Coach. And just, you know, thank you to all the coaches that really, you know, touched my life in such a positive way. But you also, you know, I mean, through everything, through your support, through your guidance, you really gave me, you know, that mental toughness. You gave me the ability to do great things, you know, in my life, despite adversity. But you also taught me to stay humble and to help those that need me, just like I needed you. I'm also blessed to have the best teammates and friends. Mitch, Marty, Jay, you guys were there for me when I needed you, and you guys are still here. I couldn't have done it, you know, I couldn't have gotten through it without you guys. You know, we've had lots of great memories, both on and off the field. Don't worry, Marty, I won't go into detail. You know, but one moment in particular I think I should bring up. You know, when you guys, you know, decided, you know, to make me a captain and to lead you guys out onto the football field. And as a place kicker, I mean, that's pretty phenomenal. And that was a real, you know, selfless and gracious act that I'll never forget. To my kids, you know, let this be a reminder that it's not what you go through that defines you. Unfortunately, you really can't do anything about that, can you? It's what you do after you've gone through that really, you know, tests you and really, you know, find out who you will become. But you guys have already figured this out. You know, Michael, Madeline, you both overcame some pretty extreme odds to even be here today. You guys were told, or we were told, that you guys would never be in normal classes. Definitely wouldn't be able to play sports. You guys went through, you know, years of physical therapy, speech therapy, surgeries, etc. And look at you now. You know, and Michael, see you, you know, kicking the football, you know, in the green and white. You know, I definitely know what your grandfather was feeling all those years ago. I'm proud of all three of you. And your mom and I are very excited to see who you become. And to my wife, thank you for being the best thing that's happened to me. Meeting you was absolutely the best defining moment of my life. So thank you. So, again, thank you guys so much for this great honor. But the recognition should really go to my teammates, to my coaches, my family, and really the entire Mason community that really supported me during my time at Mason. I am forever grateful. Thank you.
Okay, let's have another hand for Kevin. Mike Straight, A 1997 graduate, Mike Straight was a talented two-sport athlete in both baseball and football. He was a 3-year varsity starter for the baseball team, playing both third base and pitcher. He was the winning pitcher for a Hall of Fame coach, Ken Gray's 400th career win. Playing third base, he received all conference and all area recognition as a junior and senior. On Friday nights, Mike etched his name into the record books as starting quarterback for the Comets. His junior year, he led Mason to a 7-3 record and was voted the team's most valuable player. The next season as a senior, he led the team on a 9-game win streak in their first ever Division I playoff appearance and win. He set records for passing yards in a season, passing touchdowns, passing points, and average per attempt. The 1996 team scored 318 total points, ranking second all-time by just 1 point. Mike received first-team All-FAVC honors. He was named Western Star first-team All-City, and second-team All-Southwest Ohio. 2 Hall of Fame pass catchers for Mason ranked 1 and 2 on the all-time single-game list because of Mike's legendary season. Today, Mike lives in nearby Loveland with his wife Amanda, and their 3-year-old son, Connor. I give you Mike Straight.
Wow. So I know it's a bad sign when I'm getting choked up during other inductee remarks. So this could be a little rough, to be honest. Thanks, Scott, and thank you to everyone on the Hall of Fame committee. Special thanks to Dylan for calling back after I did not return his initial voicemail. You can ask my wife, Amanda. That's kind of one of my specialties. But I'm honored that 25 years after I left this place, somebody would even bring up my name for possible induction, let alone give me the nod to join so many of my former teammates, coaches, and classmates in this special group. After getting the call from Dylan a couple of months ago, I did exactly as he told me. I went over to Mom and Dad's to figure out if they kept anything so I could maybe piece together some achievements, memories from more than 25 years ago. What I didn't expect was my mom to bring down multiple 4-inch, 3-ring binders, books of every single newspaper article, complete with stats and even handwritten notes from almost every game. I am now not only able to tell you how many yards Bobby Highfill rushed for against Loveland in 1995. It was 205. He had a nice game that night. But I can also tell you all the games that my mom thought I had a couple of good plays at third base. Mom, I think we both know that translates to he struck out twice and grounded out to the pitcher at the plate. Looking through those binders, I realized that over the years, the memories of specific plays and games faded or became, embellished because of the stories, and you started to remember the stories more than you remembered the actual games. But what didn't fade were the memories of teammates, coaches, classmates, the feelings you got before a big game, sitting in the locker room, getting ready to come out on a Friday night, with that mix of excitement and nervousness that you can't really explain to anybody that's never experienced it. I remember vividly that 1996 playoff run when it felt like the entire community was at both playoff games. I remember the intensity and volume of the pregame speech that the late, great Coach Dave Segrist gave before playing Kings our senior year on their homecoming. I think anybody that was in the locker room that night remembers that speech, possibly turning around our season and going on to what we accomplished in the playoffs that year. And honestly, I'll never forget the feeling, the University of Dayton, of losing in the playoffs the last game I played as a Comet. It is crazy to think that of all the good things that Scott just talked about, which some of them even impressed me, hearing him back 25 years later, that's the one thing that sticks with you. That, along with how fortunate I was as a young man to have amazing coaches, leaders, and role models that developed me into the player I was, and quite honestly, the person I am today. It wasn't until I was in my late 20s, coaching summer baseball with Billy Eiffel, that I realized that the techniques, the X's and O's, were all secondary to the atmosphere that you provided, that hopefully your players came into every day and loved to be there and felt like they had the opportunity to be successful. I was certainly given that from even a very young age, starting playing football at 7 years old for Coach Bill Grimes, going on to play for George Highfill, Greg Richards, Harold Grice, the late Tim Keaton, Rob Matula, Tim Lichtenberg, Gary Popovich, Dave Segerist, Randy Andrews, Charlie Andrews, Ken Gray, to name more than a few. I was also surrounded by some pretty talented teammates, several Hall of Famers, and I'm sure there's more to come. Guys like Bobby Highfill, who's here tonight, Dan Wortman, who's here tonight, Craig Atkins, Travis Bennett, Josh Morrell, on the baseball field, Randy Andrews. I'm pretty sure our 1996 football team had so much talent that anybody that could remember the plays and tell Highfill and Morrell what to do 90% of the time could have been quarterback on that team. Fortunately, I was the lucky one. Thank you to not only my family, but a lot of the folks at our table tonight for being here. Dan Wortman, a lifelong friend at this point. We went to college together, and a lot of that grew out of being co-captains that senior season. We were friends before that, but we definitely grew closer with some of the travails we had early in that season. The Highfill crew, between playing and growing up with Bobby, being coached by George in both baseball and several years, in football and several years in baseball, and spending probably 15 summers, close to 15 summers with Billy in hotel rooms, coaching travel summer baseball. I'm pretty sure, and that's before we include any lakes to trips to Lake Cumberland. I'm pretty sure I've spent as much time with them as I have my own family. And of course, my family, my wife Amanda and son Connor, who's back there making all the noise. Sorry, guys. My mom and dad, my older brother TC, who at a very young age taught me that if you're going to be the younger brother, you better get tough pretty quick. And here we go, Ashley, along with some of the boys down there on Winding Creek, a couple of Chances, a bunch of Becks, some Bogans, certainly, and my soon-to-be sister-in-law, Mallory. I certainly appreciate all you guys being here to support me tonight. During my time as a Comet, I was without question the beneficiary of having great people around me. And quite frankly, it started at home. My mom and dad did whatever it took to make sure we were always in a position to succeed. A big part of that was deciding to move into and raise us in this community. I can't thank them enough for the love and support over the years and the example they set. My son Connor is only 3 years old, but I pray that Amanda and I can provide him the same opportunities to be successful that mom and dad in this community provided for me. I'd like to congratulate all this year's inductees. Thank you again to the Hall of Fame committee for this great honor. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.
James Chilcote, a premier 4-year varsity swimmer for the Comets. James Chilcote helped take the men's swimming program to new heights in the early 2000s. He began his career quickly as a freshman, setting 4 school records, earning the team's MVP award, and qualifying for the district meet in 2 individual events. As a sophomore and junior, he continued to build on his own records along with breaking numerous more. He qualified for the district meet in 4 different events and received first-team all-conference honors both years. His senior season, he led the men's swimming team to their first ever conference championship in program history. After 4 years, James finally broke through the district level as well, qualifying for the state meet in all 4 events. James and 3 teammates became the first male swimmers to qualify for the state meet since 1992, 12 years. Ever since that 2004 season, the men's program has qualified at least 1 athlete to state every single year. He graduated Mason with numerous school records, including the 100 and 200 backstroke, the 200 individual medley, and the 200 medley relay. His 100-yard backstroke record stood for over a decade. After graduation, James attended Ohio University to swim for the Bobcats, and he now lives back in Cincinnati with his wife Jillian and his 2 kids, Daniel and Aston. And I give you James Chilcote.
Good evening, and thank you. First, I would like to thank the Mason Athletic Hall of Fame Committee, the Mason Athletic Boosters, the athletic department, all alumni, coaches, parents, family, friends, and teachers in attendance tonight. And I would also like to congratulate all of the other and my fellow Hall of Fame inductees this evening. Congratulations. Mark Twain once said, "My mother had a great deal of trouble raising me, but I think she enjoyed it." Both of my parents were teachers, having the summers off, and I was a rambunctious ADHD young child that needed to do something in the summer to get rid of his energy. At least so my parents could keep their sanity. My wife and I tried this with our son this past spring with soccer, and it was there at a practice which he was choosing not to participate in, and he was just running around the soccer goal. It was there that my wonderful son first nana-nana-boo-booed me. He's 3.5 years old. My mom was there at this practice and calmly asked me, "Are you gonna let him talk to you that way?" So I get where my parents were coming from. So my mom suggested swimming, and we went to the Green Hills Community Pool one evening in the May of 1991 for a swimsuit fitting. Now in my head, I'm thinking, like, dude, this is gonna be sweet. I'm gonna get a new swimsuit. I'm gonna look like a surfer hanging out by the pool all summer long. So we get there. My mom stands in line and I go and run and play. I'm 6 years old. And then she yells, "Come on, it's your turn." So I run over. We go into the old locker room to try on this new swimsuit. So my mom pulls out this little white box. And I mean, at 6 years old, I thought, you can't even fit a pair of socks in those things. She opens it up, and what looks like to me, a pair of my own underwear, the original Speedo. It's not the knee-length jammer that you see all around the pool decks nowadays. Mom, thank you so much for making me try that on. I know I had a meltdown. And you've always been able to calmly talk us through, all 3 of your kids, talk us through any of the swimsuit fitting issues that we've ever had. So I thank you very much for that, Mom. My dad grew up playing football. He was a starting offensive tackle for the national runner-up 1982 Fighting Quakers of Wilmington. He was then a defensive line coach for the 1986 Fairfield Indians state championship team. And when my mom came up with the idea of being on the swim team, and now this is just hearsay, it's stories that she still shares, she says that his words were like, well, I'm not gonna have anything to do with that. That'll be your thing. Over the next 17 years, my father worked every swim meet, every invitational, every season championship as a timer, concession stands runner, hospitality, hour after hour, weekend after weekend, season after season. This man did not miss a meet, let alone a race. I remember an old t-shirt that parents would wear from another team, and it had a quote on the back that rings so true for swimming and many other sports. If I had but one day to live, it would be at a swim meet because they last forever. My father and I would spend weekends on the road, staying in hotels all over the Midwest, multiple times a year for a decade. Lexington, Louisville, Indy, Milwaukee, Bowling Green, Cleveland, Columbus, Athens, Pittsburgh, Buffalo. Living out of a cooler filled with turkey sandwiches, power bars, Gatorade, and Busch Light. And I guess thinking back, Dad, you did always bring 2 coolers. Dad, thank you. Oh, hold on. No, they had the emotional part. Now, I already think that I'm the luckiest man on earth. And reflecting on that time, now being a father myself, if I have that same opportunity to spend that kind of time with my son or my daughter, and to be there for those types of experiences, what more could anyone ask for? And how lucky I could be. So, Dad, thank you. Coach Sullivan. Coach Sullivan is unfortunately not able to be here with us tonight. He's helping his daughter move out of an apartment in Charlotte, North Carolina. Before Mark started at Mason in 2003, 2004, he had been teaching for almost 20 years at this point. He had already been a head coach of a state championship team. He had coached Olympic gold medalists, countless Olympic trials, qualifiers. Coach Sullivan had already been a teacher, or Coach Sullivan now has been a teacher and a coach for almost 40 years. And if my Mason math is correct, on average of teaching about 150 students a year, coaching at least 50 athletes a year, over 40 years, that's well over 10,000 students and athletes that man has had the opportunity to be a part of their lives, to challenge them, to mold them into being a positive influence in shaping literally our city, the city of Mason's future. The entire city of Loveland only has a population of 13,000 people according to the 2020 census. So I mean, it's a big population of who he's had influence over. What a gift he has been able to give, and for the fact out of all those people, students, athlete that he's had, that I am one of the names that he thought of to nominate for this honor is indescribably humbling, and I sincerely thank him. My wife Jill, my best friend, the amazing mother of our 2 wonderful children. So my wife is here tonight with her Aunt Dinah and Uncle Charlie. Small world, Charlie gave Jill's father's speech when he was inducted into Princeton's Hall of Fame. This being my 6th year at Princeton Middle School, it's so cool to be able to walk down the hall of Viking Village and look up and see Danny's picture hanging on the wall. And I'll give him a wink, I'll give him a nod. Anytime we're taking the students down for an assembly or something, I'll always point up and say, that's Jill's dad, that's Jill's dad. And whoever I'm talking to, the kid will be like, well, who's Jill? Like, that's my wife that I've been telling stories about all year in class. Jill, thank you for always challenging me, the way every one of my coaches and teachers did to be the best version of myself. Thank you for finding my company so enjoyable like my father did, that we can literally drive across the southwestern United States with the radio off, because there is nothing else we would rather be doing or doing it with. And thank you for taking care of me and loving our family every day like all great mothers do. I love you, thank you, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Let's hear it again for James Chilcote. Travis Brown, a graduate in the class of 2006. Travis Brown was a standout basketball player for the Comets. He was a 2-year varsity starter, leading Mason to back-to-back conference titles. They were the program's first conference championships in over a decade. Travis led the team in scoring, totaling over 800 points between the 2 seasons. He was twice named Conference Player of the Year. He was 2-time first-team Cincinnati Enquirer, and he was second and third-team All-Southwest Ohio. Travis earned honorable mention, All-State honors, and was named a District 15 All-Star. He currently holds the school record for the most free throws made in a season with 137. He ranks 5th in school history in career free throw percentage at 82%, 5th in career three-point percentage at 47%, and 7th in career three-pointers made with 83. In the spring, Travis added 2 years of varsity volleyball to his already impressive basketball numbers. After high school, he attended Fairmont State University for 2 years and Mount Vernon Nazarene for 2 years, playing basketball for both and starting all 4 years. He currently lives back in Mason with his wife Stephanie and their 3 children, Alexis, Easton, and Mason. I give you Travis Brown.
Well, my wife also said that I need to stick to the script, and I can assure you I'm not going to think of you naked, so. But I would like to thank everyone for coming out tonight to support us, and thank the committee, and congratulate the other inductees, and say it's truly an honor to be inducted into the Mason Hall of Fame tonight. It's exciting to be inducted with Chase. We grew up childhood friends, and to see us go into the hall together tonight is really cool and special. I would like to thank my parents for all their support and the time they put in, shooting hoops in the driveway, driving me to practice, taking me to tournaments, and watching me play, and especially making several 5-hour drives to West Virginia to see me play at Fairmont State and Mount Vernon. That meant a lot, and I was very appreciative of all the sacrifices they made over the years. But I also wanted to give my dad a quick shout out for the forced film sessions and that started in the 7th grade. He would film my games, and we would stop and start the same clip 20 times until I realized I wasn't going my hardest on my flex screens or making the right read. He always told me I was being a robot, doing exactly what I was supposed to do. Even though I hated those times, it did make me a better player, and it helped me to understand how to read defenses and learn from my mistakes. This is something I look forward to doing with my own kids in the future, and I think they will love it just as much as I did. I also want to thank my younger brother, Zach. He pushed me without even knowing it. Growing up, he was the better basketball player between the two of us. He had more natural ability. That made me outwork him. Deep down, I always wanted to be the better player and the better Brown brother. Since he's not here tonight, I'm going to go on record saying I was the better shooter, scorer, and one-on-one player. Even though he did earn a D1 scholarship, and he can't defend himself tonight. I also want to thank everyone at my table. My grandma, who constantly kept the box score every time she came up to watch me play. She would have her little pencil and keep track of just my points and let me know how I did at the end of the game. I want to thank the Donnellys, Mike and Cindy, for their support over the years. Mrs. Donnelly was one of my favorite high school teachers. She ran the bank Comet Savings and Loan. However, I was not always the best bank teller. I was constantly holding up 2 signs that I had created. One with an arrow pointing this way that said, "Next teller, please," and closed. I just wanted to talk and hang out, not do any work. I think she loved it. I also want to thank my wife, Stephanie, who is the rock and glue of our family and has to put up with me on a daily basis. I love her dearly, and I'm so thankful for all that she does for us. And then my own 3 kiddos, Alexis, Easton, and Mason, for their support. It means a lot to me. I really appreciate you guys being here. I also want to thank all my teammates throughout the years. Basketball was a long season, and having those guys as best friends made the days go fast, and we had so much fun together. I became best friends with most of the guys in the 05 class. We spent countless hours playing college football dynasties on the PlayStation. Those guys are still my best friends today, and I see them often, and our families have grown close throughout the years. Reflecting back these past few weeks, I remembered how much I loved being a Comet basketball player and all the fun times we had together. Playing games in the arena, our crazy bus rides, Saturday mornings heading to McDonald's. Weight room basketball was probably my favorite, in the old gym when we should have been lifting. So many great memories with great friends. I loved every second of it. I want to thank all my coaches, Coach Messer, Bly, Kerr, and Popawell. All of those guys played a huge part in my success. I loved playing for Coach Popawell. He was constantly reminding me to get to the foul line if I was not hitting my shots, to get reset and then knock a few free throws down and see them go through. I think this mentality and mindset helped me as a scorer and allowed me to break the free throws record for Mason. Coach Popawell also was very kind to let me know that my defense was never good enough. Almost daily, he told me, "Travis, if you can't play defense, you're never gonna play." Thankfully, he let me play. Most of all, I want to thank Coach Richards. I want to congratulate him on an amazing career, and I was sad to see him retire. Coach Richards will always represent Mason basketball to me. I absolutely love playing for Coach and being a Mason Comet. Outside of my parents, there was no one I respected more than Coach. He demanded excellence out of us, and I love that about him. We had a lot of long, hard practices, and defense was always at the forefront. Coach made us work. He made us tougher, made us play together, and showed us a winning formula for a team that never had the most talent on the floor. Playing for Coach meant intense defense, and that just happened to be my specialty. Right, Coach? If anything went wrong on the defensive end, it was somehow always my fault. Even if it wasn't my man, I got yelled at early and often, and always on the defensive side of the ball. However, I did lead the team in steals, so it couldn't have been all that bad. The most valuable lesson I learned as a Comet went completely against Coach Richards' philosophy of defense. If you can score, life as a Comet was easier. My philosophy was all offense. If I was open, I was shooting. And if I wasn't open, all I needed to do was take a step back, and I just might be. I was so thankful to have played with Matt Hunter, Matt White, Mike Decker, Chase, and so many others that loved to play defense and were great at it. That made my life so much easier. I constantly got to guard the worst player. That saved all my energy for offense. I absolutely loved going over the weekly scouting report that Coach had so nicely prepared. And then I was grinning ear to ear when I got to see Travis's guy. The personnel usually read something like this: Travis's guy averages 2 points, can't dribble left, 1 dribble passes, box him out. Box him out was always on my guy because I don't think the coaches could find anything else to say about the guy. It became a running joke in the locker room to see Travis's guy versus the others. However, this did come full circle in college. As a freshman, I wasn't playing much after 10 games, and we needed someone to be a lockdown defender and do the dirty work. Mason basketball and Coach Richards had prepared me for this, and I told our coach that I could be the guy to step up to do that. And even though I didn't have to do this in high school and that wasn't my role, I knew I was capable. So I devoted all my energy to defense and rebounding because playing time meant way more to me than scoring. So my entire college career, I only averaged 6 to 10 points, but I was a 4-year starter and loved every second of it. So Coach, you ended up making me a defensive player after all. I just want to thank everyone again, and even though my kiddos are going to be knights, deep down I will always be a Comet, and I'm so thankful for my time growing up in Mason and playing for Coach Richards. Thank you.
Hey, let's hear it again for Travis. Good job. Kelsey Flaherty, 2006 graduate of Mason. Kelsey Flaherty played a vital role in the success of the women's cross country and track teams in the mid-2000s. She was a 4-year varsity contributor in both sports, competing in multiple events that led to 7 total conference championships. She also was a part of 6 district titles, 3 regional titles, a team state runner-up in 2006. As a sophomore, she was a member of the first ever state championship in girls track and field. She ran a leg of the legendary 3,200 meter relay team that placed second at state in 2004 and won the state championship in 2006. When they graduated, that team held 3 of the top 6 all-time records in Cincinnati. As a junior and a senior, Kelsey helped the women's cross-country team finish 3rd overall at the state meet both years. For her career success, she received the United States Marine Corps Distinguished Athlete Award in 2006. After graduation, she attended Xavier University and ran both cross-country and track for the Muskies. She recently has moved back to Ohio after 10 years away with her husband Alex and her son Fitzgerald. I give you Kelsey Flaherty.
Good evening. I'd like to first thank Scott Stemple and the Hall of Fame committee for thinking of me. It's an immense honor, and I'm very grateful. Thank you. My father and grandfather are both in the Hall of Fame, so tonight feels extra special for me. My parents were both incredible athletes. My dad played football at Baldwin Wallace, and my mother played basketball at Northern Kentucky University. So naturally, like my parents, my hand-eye coordination is absolutely non-existent. That's how I came to find cross-country and track. I would just run, and I loved it. My first coach, Rod King, helped keep it that way. I didn't feel any pressure. He just let me have fun and do what I loved. I couldn't have asked for a better introduction to my running career. As I entered high school, Coach Tim King helped me to learn to appreciate cross-country. It quickly became more than just a 5K. I learned how to run within nature, when to let the hill carry me down, how to run into the wind. I learned a lot about myself and strategy in those open meadows. Coach Tony and Kelly Affatato coached me through the rest of high school, and I'm so very grateful they did. Not only did they continuously ignite that fire within me, but they taught me what it meant to be a teammate, and not just any teammate, a good teammate. That became my favorite part of running. Together, they created an incredibly special team that was more like a family. I know now how special that time was. The dedication and work they pour into each and every athlete is unprecedented. Tony and Kelly not only help shape athletes, but they build strong foundational character within them. And their influence shaped me into who I am today. I was incredibly lucky with every single one of my coaches. They each met me where I was at in my running career and helped me to further grow as an athlete. I am forever grateful to each coach I had for always making me feel seen, heard, and for believing in me. I wouldn't be here without my teammates, and it feels strange being up here alone because I never was. All of my accomplishments belong to my teammates, and I can't thank them enough for their constant motivation, leadership, and friendship. Leanne Lauer, Jennifer Dooley, Sarah Gaunt, Liana Sistrunk, Danielle Young, Stacy Chu, Katie and Maggie Cheney, Stephanie and Emily Starsenik, all incredible athletes as well as people. I was also able to train with one of the best runners in the state, Angela Bazzari, and that was never lost on me. We both started out as freshmen and ran together almost every day for 4 years. She was not only an inspiration and constantly pushing me to new limits, but a dear friend. Most importantly, I'd like to thank my core support system. My grandparents, Frank and Janine Lyons, Jack and Barb Flaherty, they were always cheering me on, loving me extra hard when my race didn't go as planned, and keeping me looking forward. My siblings, JC and Jackson, I always felt their love and support. I know the sacrifice they made for me every weekend, and I am forever appreciative of it. Even in high school, I knew that they were always proud of me. No matter how the race went, they lifted my spirits and kept me going, even put me in my place and humbled me a time or two. I hope you also know how proud I was to be your sister, and still am. My mother was the rock that always kept me moving forward, giving me momentum and strength. She sacrificed so much of her time to make sure I had exactly what I needed. I wouldn't have been able to do any of it without her. She is the most selfless, thoughtful person I know, and I am so grateful for everything you did and continue to do for me, and for always fiercely believing in your little engine that could. I wouldn't be the athlete I was without my father. He taught me I could do hard things. He believed in the athlete I was and the athlete I could be. Every single race without fail, I'd always find him in the quietest corner of the track or on the 5K trail. He always showed up during the hardest part of the race, far away from the cheers of the crowd, reminding me to keep going. Many times I wanted to give up. Then I would remind myself that Dad was just around the corner. Just make it to Dad. That always kept me moving forward. Thank you for always showing up when it was difficult and for always believing in me. As you can see, I had an incredible support system, and I still do. My success is also their success, so I would like to celebrate them tonight because this honor is as much theirs as it is mine. Once a comment, always a comment. Thank you for your time.
Hey, let's hear it for Kelsey one more time. Our last but not least induction, Chase Kahn. Member of the 2007 graduating class, Chase Kahn was a decorated three-sport athlete who amassed 9 total varsity letters in golf, basketball, and baseball. He was a 4-time first-team all-conference golfer, earning Conference Player of the Year honors as a sophomore, junior, and senior. In 2004, he was named first-team All-City. As a junior, he led the Comet golf team to their first outright conference championship since 1973. In the winter, he was a 2-year varsity starter for the basketball team, ranking second in points scored both seasons. The program won back-to-back conference titles, going undefeated in conference play in 2007. That same year, Chase was named first team all-conference and was selected to the District 15 All-Star Game. In the spring, he took his talents to the baseball diamond. He earned 3 varsity letters as a junior and a senior. He was named first team all-conference. In the district title game in 2006, Chase pitched a complete game for the Comets, giving Mason their first district title in over 15 years. He went on to attend Carson Newman College and golf for the Eagles all 4 years. Chase currently lives in Indian Hills with his wife Molly and their son Ellis. I give you Chase Kahn.
Last but not least, first off, congrats to the recent graduates. It looks like they're probably gone studying because that's how you get a 4.95 GPA. I was in the restroom earlier with a couple former Hall of Famers, and I said, I think you could add our GPAs together, and it would not eat that. So that shows how much Mason's changed over the years, but it's still always been a community that has been home. Growing up in Lexington Park 30 years ago now, 5th, 6th home built in this neighborhood, the Browns. It's always been this small community. Obviously, it's grown and grown and grown. But I want to thank Scott. I think I was a junior 2006. Was that your first year? Correct. So my junior year, getting to meet Scott. Thank you for everything you've done. The Hall of Fame committee for this honor. Dylan, he reached out to me a few months ago and said, hey, are you around? Can I stop by your office? So Dylan and I graduated together. The fact that he wanted to come and tell me in person really meant a lot. He's always blamed Scott, just so you know. He says he really wants to start saying a few words up here during the thing. So he said next year, make sure you get him in there. So, but congratulations to the other recipients tonight, especially Travis. Travis and I, growing up, childhood friends, actually would have been potentially Lakota East Hall of Famers tonight if our parents did not decide to move to Mason in the mid 90s from Westchester. The Browns moved, and then my parents said, hey, let's just move to the exact same house location in Mason. So we, it's pretty slick that 5, 6-year-old kids, here we are tonight, 30 years later. So congratulations to everybody. All of my former coaches, Coach Sutphin, who couldn't be here tonight, actually was able to reach out with him. Pretty cool, able to connect. He's out in good old Wyoming. So Coach Sutphin, Coach Richards, Gray, Popwell, Bly, and the Andrew brothers. One thing at Mason that we were blessed with so many wonderful coaches. I was fortunate enough, I coached at Mason for 9 years, and the only reason I wanted to coach was because of the coaches that I had. The influence that they had on me, the man that they helped shape me to be, I wanted to have that influence on these young men's lives in Mason. So I'm friends, I still talk with all of my former coaches, and I just wanted to thank all of you guys for everything you guys have done to me, for me, allowing me to be part of staffs, and just thank you for everything and all that you guys continue to do. All of my friends, former teammates that are here tonight, it's kind of seemed like a big reunion, able to see everybody that I haven't seen in a long time, but just thank you for everybody being here tonight. My work colleagues who are here, specifically my bosses, Kevin Karp and Ashley Chance, thank you for helping sponsor this, and we'll look at the contract, see if Hall of Fame recipient qualifies for a bonus. We'll talk about that tomorrow. My wife, Molly, my son, Ellis, he's back inside. We took him out. I did have, sorry for the wild one, but they were smart. They took him outside, so he was calm to all of you guys. But thank you for being able to be here tonight. It was kind of fun. We were able to go back and watch former highlights and films, and my wife said, wow, you were fast. You actually were a good athlete back in the day. So it was fun to relive some of the good old glory days. There he is. So my family, my sister Beth, the big sister, always there to support and cheer on her younger brother, husband Tommy, Dan, my Aunt Dawn. Just thank you for everybody being here tonight to allow us to celebrate with me. My in-laws, my mother-in-law, Joanne, there she is waving in the center. Thank you for everything. My father-in-law, Mark, calls me the most unathletic athlete he's ever met. He mainly knows me as a 30-something-year-old with a dad bod, but I just wanted to thank you for everything, and sorry you had to come to Mason's and not Moeller's tonight, but thank you for being here. My parents, none of this would have been possible without the sacrifices that they made all those years. From a young kid, playing baseball, basketball, golf, football even, surprisingly. Just everything that they did all of those years. Taking me to practices, games. They never missed a game. They never missed cheering me on. My dad would travel nonstop. My sister would be having activities, but they would always be there. My mother, no offense, doesn't have the most athletic bones in her body, but her mental toughness, her gritty, her love, her support, I never had to worry about not having a cheerleader on the sidelines. Good times, bad times, she was always there for me. So thank you, Mom, for everything you did all those years. My dad, not that my mother's not a big fan of mine, but those who know me, my father, there's no questions on who is and always will be my biggest fan. At our rehearsal dinner, Logan Long, who's here tonight, said, I don't know what's going to be harder tomorrow. Mark giving away Molly or Rex giving away Chase. So anybody who knows my father and our relationship cannot argue at that, and it probably would have been a tough battle. But knowing win or lose, your parents were always going to be there, your family was always going to be there, allowed an endless amount of memories to be created. So for that, I'm very thankful for everything all of you guys have done for me. It really is a great honor to be accepted into this. When I was down in Jefferson City, Tennessee, just outside of Knoxville, they used to always joke about this utopia up in Cincinnati called Mason, because the way I described it, it always meant so much to me. From Bobby Highfill and Mike Strait coming to visit me in Dave Allen's second grade science class. Mason was always home to me. It's where I grew up. I remember watching so many of the former Hall of Fame recipients driving to Amelia. This is our barn, and watching to where we are now and competing for state championships year after year after year. But Mason was always home, and I think that's what makes the night so special. It's, yeah, the individual accolades, it's cool, it's awesome, but being a part of something that you grew up watching so many people, being number 35 for Bobby Highfill, his name's been mentioned more tonight than anybody else's, but it's, I mean, that was a 7-year-old kid watching kids play football. So it has always meant so much to me, and obviously tonight I had some individual accolades, and I'm very thankful for all of those, but one thing I'll remember is winning a conference championship twice in golf, baseball once, basketball twice. Baseball, obviously, Coach Gray, the program that they built, we were fortunate enough to be the first Division I district title team. What Coach Bly and them have gone on to do, it's always been just a stepping stone, and I think that's what I'm most proud of, is just a little bit part of that history. Our senior year going undefeated in basketball. So it's the individual stuff was awesome. I mean, I love the golf aspect, but I'll never forget the bus rides, as Travis talked about. Watching guys that are inducted into the Hall of Fame now growing up. So just being a part of that family and that heritage and that tradition, continuing that. I want to thank you all. Go Comets, and just appreciate everybody. Thank you.
Okay, let's have one more round of applause for our inductees. If we could just have all of our Hall of Fame members that are here tonight, including our new inductees, if you could just stand where you are right now and be recognized. Thank you. Thank you. Just a couple quick announcements before we wrap up. The inductees, we have all in that envelope that Dylan put together for you is your information for tomorrow night. We're going to recognize the inductees at halftime of the Oak Hills football game tomorrow night. It looks like it's going to be a nice evening for that. So we're looking forward to that. There's also a pass in there for you to get you into any events that you want to come back to. And we'd also like to just have all the Hall of Famers, I think we'd like to do a group picture, right, Dylan? Where they're going to do that right up here. So if you can just take a moment as soon as we're done here, before you socialize and break out, to just get a quick picture of everybody together, we would appreciate that. And then if you want to see when the schedule for the replay of this is on ICRC, again, just call the athletic department, reach out to Dylan or Kathy or myself, and we'll have that schedule for you. And you can see this as they replay it on ICRC, who, again, we thank them for covering tonight's event. With that, I want to thank everybody here tonight for making this this special night in our history, for those special people that have been great contributors to our rich history here. And with that, I want to wish you a great rest of the evening. Have a safe trip back to wherever you're going, your destination, and go Comets!